My grandfather found me sleeping in my car and asked, "The house I gave you, didn't you like it?" My mother replied, "We took it from him and gave it to his sister. She has a family and deserves it more." My grandfather took out his phone and started screaming. My name is Matt. I am 22 years old and I've always been a shy and reserved person. I am not one to talk much, to cause scenes, or to fight for what I want. I prefer to keep the peace, avoid conflicts, and give in rather than argue. That characteristic of my personality was exactly what my family took advantage of to destroy me. I have an older sister, Gabi, who is 28 years old. Since I can remember, she has been the absolute favorite of my parents, Rick and Paula, who are 52 and 50 years old, respectively. Everything revolved around Gabi. Her needs, her desires, her problems. Gabi needs this. Gabi wants that. We have to help Gabi. Always Gabi. She got married at 22 to Fred, a guy I never liked. Neither of them worked regularly. Fred did odd jobs here and there, nothing stable. Gabi did not work at all, always with the excuse that she had to take care of her two children, Emma, who is 5, and Luke, who is 3. How did they survive? Simple. They lived off the money my maternal grandfather, Arthur, sent them monthly and the little I could contribute when I had something extra. My grandfather is a 74-year-old man, a widower for 10 years, and a successful retired businessman who lives in a city 3 hours away. He is a man of strong character, direct, who does not tolerate laziness or lack of ambition. I was always his favorite, not because I sought to be, not because I asked for things or manipulated him, simply because, according to him, I was the only one in the family with a head on my shoulders and humility in my heart. I worked as an administrative assistant in a small company earning $1,800 a month. It was not much, but it was honest. It paid my expenses. I helped at home when I could and saved the little I had left. Meanwhile, my parents constantly pressured my grandfather to send more money for Gabi. She has 2 children to support, they said. Fred is looking for work, but it is difficult. Meanwhile, they need help. My grandfather sent $2,500 monthly for Gabi and her family, more than I earned working full-time. But it was never enough. They always needed more. There was always an emergency. There was always something the children needed urgently. 3 months ago was my 22nd birthday. I did not expect anything special. I never celebrated big, but that day I received a call from my grandfather. "Son, I'm coming over there," he said with an excited voice. "I have a surprise for you." He arrived that afternoon, driving from his city. The whole family was gathered in the small 2-bedroom apartment where my parents, Gabi, Fred, the kids, and I lived. Yes, 7 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. It was chaotic, cramped, and constantly uncomfortable. My grandfather walked in with a huge smile and a large envelope in his hands. "Happy birthday, Matt," he said, hugging me tight. "Come, let's all sit down." We sat in the small living room. My grandfather handed me the envelope. "Open it," he said with shining eyes. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside were keys and legal documents. "It's a house," said my grandfather with tears in his eyes. "A beautiful 3-bedroom house in the Pineview neighborhood, completely furnished, modern, all ready for you to move in. It's in your name. It's yours, son." I stood frozen, unable to process what I was hearing. "Grandpa, I cannot accept this," I stammered. "Yes, you can," he said firmly, taking my hands. "You deserve it. You're a good son, respectful, hardworking. You never ask me for anything. You never cause problems. You always give without expecting to receive. This house is my way of telling you that I see all that and that I'm proud of you." Tears began to run down my face. I hugged him tight, unable to articulate words. It was the most incredible gift anyone had ever given me. I looked at my family. My parents had strange expressions, difficult to read. Gabi looked annoyed, envious. Fred frowned. But at that moment, I didn't care. I was too overwhelmed with gratitude and emotion. The next hour was chaotic. Gabi cried while packing suitcases. Fred cursed under his breath. My parents pleaded with my grandfather to reconsider. My grandfather stood firm. standing next to me in the yard, his arm around my shoulders. "This should have been yours from the beginning," he whispered to me, "and it will be now." Exactly 1 hour later, my family was on the sidewalk with suitcases and bags piled up. Gabby was hysterical. My parents looked defeated. "Dad," pleaded my mother once more, "at least do not take away the monthly support. The children need to eat." My grandfather looked at her with an expression I had never seen, pure, deep disappointment. "From this day forward," he said with a cold and firm voice, "you do not receive a single cent more from me. The monthly money is over, the loans are over, everything is over." "But the children," cried Gabby. "The children are the responsibility of their parents," said my grandfather without sympathy. "You two," he pointed to Gabby and Fred, "get jobs, work like my grandson has worked all his life. Humble yourselves like you humiliated him." "Dad, please," tried my father. "And you too?" My grandfather looked at my parents with disgust. "You are a disgrace, favoring one daughter so much that you destroyed the other, allowing them to steal your own son's house and leaving him in the street. You do not deserve to call yourselves parents." "We are your family," said my mother, desperate. "Matt is my family," said my grandfather, hugging me tighter. "You are simply toxic people who share my blood, and I do not want to see you again ever. Understood? Do not come near this house. Do not come near Matt. Do not contact me. It is over." He left them there on the sidewalk with their belongings and their shame. We entered the house, my house. Finally, mine for real. "I'm sorry," I said to my grandfather, crying. "I was weak. I should have defended myself." "You were not weak," he said, also with tears. "You were kind, and they abused your kindness. But that is over. From now on, this house is yours and only yours, and I will make sure no one ever takes it from you again." The following weeks were of adjustment. I moved properly into the house. I slept in a real bed for the first time in 5 months. I showered in a real bathroom. I ate in an equipped kitchen. It was surreal. My family tried to contact me constantly. Calls, messages, emails. "Matt, please, the children are hungry." "Matt, we cannot pay rent for an apartment." "Matt, your sister is suffering." 3 weeks after they were evicted, my mother sent me a long message. "Matt, we made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but we are your family. You cannot leave us like this. Please help us." For the first time in my life, I replied firmly, "Not this time. For years, I helped you. I gave you my money, I gave you my understanding. And when I had something truly mine, you took it from me without remorse and left me in the street. Now look for work like I always did. Goodbye." And I blocked their numbers, all of them. My grandfather visited me a week later to make sure I was okay. "How do you feel?" he asked while we drank coffee in my living room. "Free," I answered honestly. "For the first time in my life, I feel free." He smiled with tears in his eyes. "That is what I wanted to hear, son." Today, 2 months after my grandfather rescued me, I live peacefully in my house. I have decorated the rooms to my taste. I've invited friends over. I've started to enjoy having a space of my own. Do I miss my family? Sometimes, but then I remember the 5 months sleeping in my car while they enjoyed my house, and I stopped missing them, because I learned something invaluable. Kindness without limits is not a virtue, it's a weakness that others will exploit, and I will never be weak again. I am free in my house with my life, finally valuing myself, and that freedom is priceless. Weeks passed, then months. 5 months living in my car. 5 months of back pain, of cold nights, of quick showers in public bathrooms, of eating cheap to save every dollar possible. 5 months of seeing the lights on in my house every night while I slept in my reclined seat. Then one Saturday morning at 6 a.m., I heard tapping on my window. I woke up startled, confused. The window was fogged up from my breathing. I wiped the glass a little and my heart stopped. My grandfather was standing next to my car, looking at me with an expression of total confusion. I opened the door, clumsily, getting out of the car with my face puffy from sleeping uncomfortably, my hair messy, my clothes wrinkled. My grandfather looked me up and down. He saw the blankets in the box seat, the makeshift pillow, the clothes hanging on hangers over the rear window, the fast food bags on the floor. His expression changed from confusion to horror. "Son," he said with a trembling voice, What are you doing? Why are you sleeping in your car?" I could not speak. Tears simply started falling. "And the house I gave you?" he asked, his voice breaking. "Did you not like it? Did something happen with the house?" At that moment, the front door of the house opened. My mother came out hurriedly, still in her robe, with a look of panic upon seeing my grandfather. "Dad," she exclaimed with false joy, "what a surprise! We did not know you were coming." My grandfather ignored her completely. He kept looking at me, waiting for an answer. "Grandpa, I started, but my voice broke." "What happened to the house?" he asked louder, looking now between the house and me. My mother approached nervously. "Dad, let me explain." "Explain to me," said my grandfather, his voice becoming dangerously low. "Explain to me why my grandson is sleeping in his car in front of the house that I gave him." My mother swallowed hard. "Well, it's just that we took it from him and gave it to Gabby." The silence that followed was absolute. "What?" whispered my grandfather. "Gabby has a family," continued my mother, the words coming out rushed now. "She has a husband. She has children. She deserves it more. Matt is young. He is alone. He has no partner or children. Why does he want such a big house? He is a failure who hasn't even started a family. Gabby needed it more." My grandfather stood completely motionless. His face went through several emotions: disbelief, shock, and finally pure fury. Without saying a word, he took out his phone and dialed a number. "What are you doing?" asked my mother nervously. "Officer, good morning," said my grandfather. "I need a patrol car right now at this address. There is an illegal occupation of a property that is in my name and my grandson's name. Come quickly." "You cannot do this," screams my mother. "They live here. The children live here." "Children should not live in a stolen house," roared my grandfather, louder than I had ever heard him. He walked toward the front door of the house. My mother tried to block him, but he simply pushed her aside. "Everyone out," he yelled, entering the house. "Get out of this house right now." I heard screams from inside. Gabby shrieking, Fred stammering excuses, my father trying to calm the situation, the children crying, scared by the shouting. "This house belongs to Matt," continued my grandfather. "I paid for it with my money. I gave it to him. Nobody, absolutely nobody, had the right to take it from him." Gabby came out crying. "Grandpa, please, my children need this house." The next day, my grandfather returned to his city, not before taking me to see the house. It was beautiful. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a modern kitchen with new appliances, a spacious living room, an elegant dining room, and a small but well-kept garden. Everything furnished with good taste, everything perfect. "It is yours," my grandfather repeated, hugging me once more before leaving. "Take care of it. Enjoy it. You deserve it." I drove back to the apartment floating on a cloud. For the first time in my life, I had something truly mine, a space of my own, a more promising future. But that cloud disintegrated as soon as I entered the apartment. My mother was waiting for me in the living room with a serious expression. My father was by her side. Gabby and Fred, too. "Matt, we have to talk," said my mother. "Sure," I said, still smiling. "What is up?" "It is about the house," my father began. "We have been thinking. That house is too big for you." My smile faltered. "What?" "You live alone," continued my mother. "You do not have a partner. You do not have children. Why do you need 3 bedrooms?" "Well, I thought maybe in the future," I started weakly. "Your sister, on the other hand, has 2 children. Emma and Luke need space to grow, to play. They're cramped here." "And it's not fair," added Gabby with a whining voice, "that you have that whole house to yourself while my children suffer in this tiny apartment." "But Grandpa gave it to me," I said, feeling panic start to grow. "It's mine." "We are family," said my mother firmly. "Family shares. Family supports each other."
I have supported, I protested weakly. I have given you money when I can. This is different, said my father. This is a house, a place where your nephew and niece can grow up happy. Do you not want them to be happy? And so began weeks of ceaseless pressure. Every day was the same. Constant comments about how selfish I was for keeping such a big house, about how Gabby deserved it more because she had a family, about how I was young and single and didn't really need it. Think of the children, my mother told me every morning. Do not be selfish, my father reminded me every night. You are my brother, Gabby told me with fake tears. We don't matter to you. I'm shy. I hate conflict, and this was constant, exhausting, overwhelming. After 3 weeks of relentless pressure, I gave in. Fine, I said finally, feeling as if my heart were being ripped out. Gabby can keep the house. The celebrations were immediate. Gabby hugged me for the first time in years. My parents patted my back, saying I was a good brother. Fred finally smiled at me. That same week, Gabby, Fred, the kids, and my parents moved into the house my grandfather had given me. You can stay here in the apartment, my mother told me casually. It's already paid for. You will be comfortable. I stayed in the empty apartment that night, feeling completely hollow, but at least I had a roof. 2 days later, I arrived from work and my key didn't work. I tried again. Nothing. The lock had been changed. I knocked on the door. No one answered. I called my mother. She didn't answer. My father, voicemail. Gabby blocked me. Finally, a neighbor told me he had seen the landlord that morning. I called the landlord. Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Rick and Paula notified me that they no longer needed the apartment. They ended the contract and I already rented the apartment to someone else. I stood on the sidewalk with my work backpack, staring at the closed door of the apartment where I had lived all my life. I had nowhere to go. I didn't have money for a hotel, let alone a deposit for a new apartment. My savings were minimal. The only thing I had was my old but functional car, a 15-year-old sedan that miraculously ran. That night, I slept in my car. I parked it in front of the house my grandfather gave me, reclined in the seat, covered myself with my jacket, and tried to sleep. It was the longest night of my life. The next day, without showering properly, I cleaned up as best as I could in a gas station bathroom before going to work. No one at my work knew my situation. I didn't tell them anything. It was too shameful, too humiliating. The following nights were the same. I parked my car in front of the house that should have been mine, the house my grandfather gave me, the house where my family now lived comfortable and happy, while I slept on the street.